Good morning. How are you
Morning.
doing? Can you introduce yourself, say your name and what you do here at the church?
Yes, I'm Duncan Johnston and I'm the rector of St John's Parish. Stewardship is essentially looking after somebody else's stuff. There's a great verse in Psalm 50 that says, it's God talking, and God says, I own the beast of every forest and I own the cattle on 1,000 hills, which is a very poetic way of saying that God owns everything. All of creation God made and God still owns it. Mm-hmm. Now that can be challenging for human beings because that implies that we don't own things. Even though our bank account may have our name on it, our house documents may have our names on it, our driver's license may have our names on it, but the reality, if we're going to take that biblical text seriously, is that although it looks like we own stuff, actually we're just managing it. I think for me, and I just maybe mention my own story in this way. I was brought up in a Christian home and went to church from an early age, and so I got into the habit of giving regularly to my church. So the day I got my first ever paycheck, I'd already got into the habit of identifying a particular sum, a percentage of my first paycheck. Mm-hmm. And then that kind of makes it easy to go on from there. I think it's really hard if you come to that kind of giving later in life, when you're used to allocating 100% of your paycheck to the things that you need. To suddenly start to say, okay, I'm going to give 10% or even 5% or even 2% of my paycheck to the church. That's a sacrifice. That really takes some work. So I was blessed that I did that right from the beginning and didn't have to sort of learn it later in life. That's a good approach to have when this is not my stuff anyway. This is God's stuff. That is actually the most liberating thing, because if God owns all my money and I don't really own it, then it means that I don't need to worry if I seem not to have enough. God owns the stuff and he'll make sure you have enough. It also means that I won't get angry and bent out of shape when I make a bad purchase, which I often do, because I always try and buy the cheapest and then have to buy another one a few weeks later. And it's easy to get really angry because I've lost this money. I lost this money on a bad business deal, or in taxation, or I bought this thing that didn't work. Well, if it's not your money, why get bent out of shape? Yeah? It's God's money. He can get angry. I can just be peaceful in the knowledge that it's his and he's going to look after me. I think my advice would be make a first step. We have, this is a large church, a big parish. It's got a fantastic history, great traditions. But in the last few years, we have lost quite a few people who have been pledgers, and we've not kind of replaced those people with new pledges. And sometimes somebody pledges for a while and then decides not to. And I guess my appeal would be that for anybody who has not yet begun the practice of pledging, really start. Take that first step. Or if you used to but you've gotten out of the habit, take that first step in coming back. And the amount of dollars, it isn't actually the most important thing. If your circumstances mean that you can't give very much, just giving a little but pledging it is a really, really valuable thing. The reason it's so valuable is that if someone doesn't pledge, then they tend to kind of give when they're in church, and then on those weeks they're not in church, they tend not to give. But to make that upfront step of commitment at the start of the year, to say, I am going to give this number of dollars every month, whether I'm in church or not, allows the church to plan more effectively, be confident that this is going to be our income for the year. And it really is an important step. So anybody who's not made that first step, I think that it's a road that it's hard to get on. Making that commitment is difficult. It does require faith, as you say. But I think the blessing is huge. God is no one's debtor. When we give, God gives to us. Scripture says, as we sow, so shall we reap. And God has got your back. I think they can look forward to a closer walk with God. I really do think that as we sort out our financial lives in the light of God's declared intentions, I think we do receive this great benefit. I think we have a much more peaceful mind with less anxiety. And I think that, when we take that first step, it doesn't matter how much it is, it's about, God sees percentages, not dollar signs. Let's do this together.